Imagine being washed up on a beach with absolutely nothing to your name and no civilization in sight. Survival video games see your rise from nothing to something, building an entire self-sustaining settlement to live out the rest of your days surviving off the land and fending back environmental hazards. Typically, management of basic health, hunger, thirst, temperature, and in Icarus's case, oxygen are all vital for your character's existence in whatever survival experience you're partaking in.
When you sign up to play a survival game, you're going in with the understanding that there are certain elements to the game that you're going to have to micromanage, all while focusing on resource gathering, blueprint crafting, and some potential role-playing game elements like leveling up and earning new experience points to gain new abilities in-game.
There are, however, survival games out there like Valheim, for example, which take the tedium out of these micromanaging systems, allowing you to focus on some of the other game mechanics such as building a long-term shelter or focusing on how you'll best defeat a mid-game boss. Icarus, on the other hand, retains more of the hardcore survival elements while mixing things up a little bit in its mission structure by offering players a session-based experience, basically meaning that your time on the hostile alien planet of Icarus isn't persistent, and you'll be spending time in different biomes of the planet accomplishing different prospects or missions, leaving the planet for your space station, and earning special space credits for completing said missions.
Alright, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, so let's head down to the surface and survive the central gameplay loop of Icarus' first cohort.
Icarus' central gameplay loop works like this. Once you've established whether you're dropping solo or dropping cooperative with up to 8 people, you then select which prospect you'd like to take on, each with varying difficulties, mission goals, and reward amounts offered to you.
Alright, now that you've accepted a prospect and equipped any exotic tools that you may have unlocked through the research table, it's time to descend in our dropship down to the hostile planet of Icarus.
Each prospect you take on has a real-time mission timer, meaning most prospects give you over 6 days to finish. Yeah, like 6 real-life days. Your dropship is finally landed, and now it's time to survive, complete tasks, and extract. A typical expedition requires you to accomplish many micro-tasks to ensure your success and survival on said prospect. Grabbing sticks, rocks, plant fibers, and more off the ground will enable you to craft base survival tools for larger resource gatherings such as felling trees for wood, to mining clusters of rocks, coal,
or oxite, a resource necessary for oxygen consumption, because if you run out of oxygen on Icarus...
Once you've learned the necessary blueprints for a sufficient shelter and tools for surviving amongst Icarus's wildlife such as the skinning knife or a bow with bone arrows, you can begin to chart your course towards the prospect objectives that the over-eager voice announcer will continuously speak to you about.
When he's done talking, I'll start chatting.
Back upstairs. Good luck, friend.
Yeah, thanks, friend. Shut the fuck up and let me play. Alright.
In Icarus, your survival and decision making are up to you, meaning you'll have to hunt wild animals for food, search for water sources to hydrate, create a single large home or many small shelters, which help keep you safe against the numerous environmental weather effects the game throws at you. Icarus is pretty big on sending snowstorms your way in the chilly winter biomes, or full sending rain and lightning storms in the forest biomes. Weather effects in-game, such as lightning, can catch your shelter on fire, so it's best to develop research like the lightning rod tech, or else it'll burn everything you hold dear to the ground.
Fire later, we got the oxide there. You can also sleep, save your progress, and set your respawn point inside your homemade, cozy-ass shelter.
If you die anytime during a drop, you can respawn at whichever bed you set your spawn point on, or else you'll have to choose a random location and make a run for wherever your loot has dropped, and sometimes it can be a pretty frustrating jog all the way back to your gear.
Whew. Finally, we've got our loot back. After all that running around, We've made it to the objective zone, and we finally finished the objective. Congrats. Round of applause. Give it up. Now, it's time to get the hell off the planet. Get the
See, unlike other survival games, Icarus isn't a persistent open-world survival game. It's session-based, so once you've trekked your way back to the dropship and leave the surface, the game then resets, getting rid of all the resources and shelters you've left behind on the planet. Now back up in the space station, credits you've earned for prospect completion can then be used to research and craft exotic gear, like the recurve bow or a higher capacity spacesuit. You're also allowed to bring a limited amount of these items with you on future drops, making the early game grind just a bit easier.
This is essentially the core gameplay loop of Icarus. It brings a unique take to the survival crafting genre. The experience along the way isn't perfect, however, with the good parts of Icarus being mirrored by problems and clear work needing to be done for a game that's claiming version 1.0.
Alright, let's start with the good. What does Icarus get right? With an extensive skill, crafting, and progression tree, Icarus allows you to experience the game and focus on what you enjoy doing the most. You want to specialize in animal hunting? Sweet. You want to be the best carpenter in your server? Wonderful. There's a unique food system in-game which basically allows a certain amount of food slots in your stomach, and based on the effectiveness of the food you're eating, these can give you massive overall health buffs. Negative status effects brought on by different illnesses and injuries are all present and will punish you if not taken care of. That subtle bit of frost on your helmet? Yeah, you're gonna want to get a fire going or enjoy some frostbite. You got overeager and broke your leg trying to free fall into a shallow pond?
Yeah, good luck moving forward without a
Splint.
At least game progression handles nicely, the way you're constantly leveling your character up. But this isn't fun.
Once your character has leveled, you slowly unlock more and more advanced abilities and tech, for example, transitioning your basic wooden bow into a powerful bolt-action rifle that takes bullets, or instead of taking raw oxide to your head, you can oxidize it, better utilizing the resource and allowing filling an oxygen tank for use in the wild. The session-based gameplay creates a unique dynamic with the world. Knowing nothing is going to persist once you're done in that sector of the planet, and figuring out how much basic surviving you'll need to do before completing a prospect is a pretty interesting choice to have to make. Icarus actually brings a lot to the table to not only eliminate the drivel of early game survival, but to also shake the survival genre up a bit by offering a different helping of incentives for completing prospects and overall limiting your time in the sandbox area. We can't have the good without the bad, and unfortunately the game has some very glaring flaws. It's important to start at the root of the problem, and I will be 100% honest here. Icarus is an early access game. Now what I mean by this is Icarus is currently a game that is very much still in development. The problem here is that the publisher and developer Rocketworks have considered the current state of Icarus version 1.0, meaning what you're purchasing is a fully finished title. It's even advertised as such. When you look at certain aspects of Icarus, you'll know that isn't the case at all. And we'll start with the tech tree. The tech tree features a wide range of helpful equipment you can learn. However, there are quite a few blueprints that I noticed which have a time notification on saying coming soon, meaning those items aren't even in the game. So why mention them at all until they're actually finished?
Oh, I was gonna add a fishing scene, but don't worry, it's coming soon. Video's done, but don't worry.
Icarus is still dealing with optimization issues, general gameplay bugs, and much more for both myself and many other players. Even prospect rewards were bugged for my first 15 hours spent on the game in solo offline mode, meaning I wasn't even receiving the credits for completing prospects for my first 15 hours.
And still didn't get no fucking currency.
We got some issues here,
Because I just did two contracts now. That doesn't make me want to continue playing the fucking game. That doesn't encourage me to want to go forward. That makes me want to turn this shit off. And that's exactly what I'm going to do.
At the time of recording this specific issue has since been fixed. However, my 15 hours worth of progress was not compensated for. The scope of Icarus's map is massive, and you'll be traversing a lot of terrain, walking and running. There is no transportation in Icarus at all in its current state. It's to be added at a later date, which further reinforces why it's nowhere near complete. I personally have no issues with early access video game structure, and in fact end up finding some of my all-time favorite gaming experiences this way. Man, look, I'd be willing to overlook wildlife not interacting with each other, geometry falling through other geometry, or the game being punishingly difficult for a solo-only player, if only I wasn't going into Icarus with the idea that the systems in place are actually fully fleshed out, tested, and finished. The developers have even included a separate skill tree for players who want to enjoy their Icarus experience solo, and even that was a slog up until around level 20 when the game finally picked up pace. I was then able to enjoy my experience, but for a limited amount of time, because before I knew it, I was having to do unnecessary amounts of busy work just to survive and finish prospects in the harsher, higher leveled biomes.
Honestly, Icarus did bring quite a few unique ideas, but unfortunately for me, a solo player, the grind was fun up until the grind was miserable. Now, I don't know if I should applaud RocketWorks for being so open and transparent with their community on fixing the numerous bugs that they have since their release date of December 4th.
Do I applaud them for listening to player feedback and doing what they can to make sure their player base is happy? Or do I boo them for lying about the state of their game upon release? And either way, the developers have created something that has value and tries to do something new amongst the crowd of games in the same genre, repeating the same mechanics time and time again. And don't get me started about endgame, because endgame is tough as well. Once you've leveled your character up past about level 40, you can no longer get talent points and blueprints in-game, which essentially means you've hit a ceiling in progression, but your level can still rise up to 99, which is also something that the devs needed to increase after the game released. There's absolutely no way you can play Icarus solo and not hit a weird ceiling. Icarus was designed for large groups of friends to sync talents and play together. You can't even respec your skill points, which means once you've assigned your talent and blueprint points, that's it for your current character. And unfortunately for me, even though I had a dedicated talent tree for solo play, the rest of my time in Icarus became frustrating and time-consuming past a point that is acceptable for me, which has resulted in me stepping away from the game altogether.
You know, the 26 or so hours I did spend on Icarus were full of highs and lows. I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy my experience here on this strangely familiar alien planet.
If you've been wanting something different out of a survival crafting experience, Icarus introduces a few refreshing ideas that bend the norm. However, it also falls victim to a not-so-honest publisher and is plagued with issues that lead it further away from a completed, cohesive product. Yo, thank you so much for watching and supporting MavAttack. A huge shout out to my wife Rolam for not only gifting me Icarus, but for being my cam op on production, as well as helping with the script and post-production work. Thank you to all of my current subscribers and supporters over on twitch.tv/MavAttack official for not only supporting part of the Icarus playthrough live, but supporting us from the day to day. We broadcast every week, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Whether you liked the video or you completely hated the video, you make sure to do so down below. The interactions help out discoverability tremendously. Thank you all again so much for watching.
Because if you run out of oxygen on Icarus, it's ridiculous. How about... We're full of highs and lows. I feel like a fucking baby on the ground. Or drop my mic. Wee.